What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA Show. Me and Justin are back hot off of a Fusion Fight League fight this last Friday. We know that some of you guys were able to actually log on and join. Pern, you were one of them. You said you logged on and you watched the show, so we'd love to get your feedback and know what you think of our commentating. And we are going back to Montana, believe it or not, this weekend again. On Saturday, there's another show, so we're going to be co-commentating again, which we're both super excited about. The organization's amazing. The owner's incredible. The whole team is awesome, and the fights were fantastic. Just one quick fight we maybe we'll talk about. I don't know if you have something you want to throw out there, but man, there's this one kid out of Montana. You know who I'm going to talk about, Lance Regenbald, who is just a star, I think, in the making. He's a flyweight, which is fun too, because I feel like the flyweight division has a lot of potential in other organizations, especially the UFC, to still grow if we get the right personalities, the right star in there. And he came out with an incredible victory against a really tough guy with tremendous ground game. And Lance is more of a striker, more of a boxer, if anything. And he had great takedown defense and eventually kind of knocked him. Oh, it was a TKO finish, right?
Yeah, he TKO finish. He started working on the body. Remember, he kept dropping. The guy kept trying to pull guard. And, I talked to Lance after the fight. I really hope he took what I had to say to heart. I wasn't trying to be too critical of him.
Sure.
But, I couldn't really read him. I couldn't really read if he was getting upset at the things I was saying or if he was really taking it to heart, because I do believe that this kid has a bright future. He just needs to clean up some of those mistakes he made.
Oh, by the way, Western Mass Climber said I always start the stream mid-sentence. Give the stream a chance to start. Sorry, I didn't even realize. I assume once it says live, it's recording. All right, so I'll have to pause a little bit. Good feedback. Yeah, no, I don't think he took anything to heart, because really at the end of the day, what you were saying is what he eventually did. You were telling him, you were kind of saying through the commentating that, hey, he should wave him back up, let him get back up to his feet, go to a strong, because he was following him down to the ground, and that was a bit of a precarious, dangerous situation. So no, I don't think he'll be upset, and I think he did a phenomenal job, and it was just fun. So if you guys are interested in watching it this weekend, it's the same thing through the Triller app. And yeah, we'd love to have you join along and give us your thoughts on how we're doing as commentators. Justin's a seasoned vet. He's incredible in terms of the play-by-play. So good. I'm still getting my bearings and kind of warming up to the whole position, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the heck out of it, having a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys can see me grow into the role and get really confident with it. So there you go. But we got a lot to talk about outside of Fusion Fight League. There was a crazy weekend. I mean, this primarily we're going to be talking mostly about UFC 306 this last weekend at the Sphere, UFC Noche, which I thought, I mean, I don't know what people are saying. I've heard some feedback, and people are generally saying it's incredible. But let me just start by saying this. And Justin, I want you to chime in and tell me your thoughts too. If anybody is going to complain about this card, I just don't even know what to say. And, you might say this fight or that fight wasn't up to what you expected. But let me tell you something. And Justin, again, chime in if you disagree or agree. We can't always say that that's part of the fun of the sport. It's a competition. It's not just for our entertainment every time, and everybody just needs to throw caution to the wind and go balls to the wall. I don't think that's how the sport is, and I don't think that's how it should be. I think it's a competition. Sometimes we're going to get quote unquote amazing fights, but if you look at it through the right lens, every fight is amazing because they're all competitive, and we don't know what's going to happen, and that's half of the fun. So I thought I was really happy with the fights as well. But if you look at the production and what they tried to do, what they put together with those films, that entire experience, and we weren't there, but we were watching it on TV. And what organization out there, what professional sports organization out there is trying stuff like the UFC? Who's trying to do a dedication? And the UFC is an American company. And sorry, I'm rambling, but who does a dedication to Mexico, another country, this beautiful dedication, probably filling so many folks from Mexico with so much pride? I mean, I would be overwhelmed if they did something like that about India. How cool would that be? Who is doing these tremendous steps, spending all this money, just trying to do something different, right? Like, what did you feel about Saturday night?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, especially with the trying the new things, trying like this venue. Dana White didn't know, is this going to be a flop or not. I was very fortunate. I had a good friend of mine that was actually at the venue, and he was FaceTiming me, and he was sending me videos of the production. He says the first half of the show, so what the UFC did, and like I said, I picked his brain as much as I could because I knew we'd talk about it today. He says the first half of the show was as for production. Like, they had the big screens up in the Sphere, but they didn't have anything going crazy. But when that main card turned on, he says the whole place lit up. They started using everything they had in this place. And unfortunately, I've been to the Sphere a couple times now, not once but twice. And what they did was just crazy, man. Going back with the backstories of the fighters on the screen, and when you're immersed in this, I can't even describe it. 360-degree view of just everything going on. It's just an incredible experience, and listen to the commentators, talk about how they need to have a show here, and listen to, people talk about how they had one of the biggest gates. I thought the event was incredible. I'd love to see him go back there. I just hope next time the tickets are a little bit cheaper.
Right, fair enough. But I mean, God, it was just, to me, it was just a masterpiece. It was a work of art just from the flow of like learning the history about Mexican culture and heritage and the fighting spirit. I'm not Mexican, I'm Indian, but like I was just blown away and so impressed. And it just made me feel pride filled, even though that's not my country of origin. So it was just so creative and so cool. Okay, so enough about the general event. I thought the event was incredible. Let's get right into the main event. Some people are saying it was a bit of a weird fight. Some people, I mean, there was kissing going on. There was like yelling at the coaches. Excessive coaching was called, which is rarely called by the ref, and that was because Sean O'Malley's coach was yelling things to Merab. Apparently, he asked Merab what 2 + 2 is, and that's when Merab like lost his mind at the beginning of the fight. I don't know, but what I mean. I heard Dana White say he wished people turned the TV off before the co-main and the main. I don't understand why. I thought the main event, this is what I heard. I didn't actually hear it in the presser, but somebody repeated that. So this is still technically hearsay, but I thought the main event was dope. I was thoroughly impressed with Merab's performance, even though I thought O'Malley was kind of rooting for O'Malley. What's your takeaway on that main event?
I mean, O'Malley looked a little flat going in. I mean, the fight was it was lackluster, but as for exciting moments, but you know what? Hats off to Merab though. Not only implementing his game plan that he said he was going to do, he had fun doing it. It wasn't just like he took him down, laid on him. He was dancing in the ring. He did Sean O'Malley's basketball dribble. Sean O'Malley missed this big spin kick, and he was given his style, and a lot of people don't like his style. And I'll be straight up, I'm not a huge fan of that style, the wrestling grind style. I want to see two guys get in there and bang it out. That doesn't mean it's a boring style. It's just preference to me, what I like. I like to see big knockouts and so on and so forth. But he took his style, knows it's a little lackluster and boring, and tried to make it exciting by taunting, tried to make it exciting by talking shit, tried to make it exciting by doing, outlandish things, and he's being criticized for it. But again, at the end of the day, he's an entertainer, and he understands that his style isn't that exciting. But he's trying to make it exciting, guys, and I really have to stick my head up because, again, when he's like mocking, Sean O'Malley, who's such a dangerous, powerful striker on the feet, like this guy has some big balls, man, and I think Sean O'Malley really underestimated how good he is. Giving up his pre-fight, like diving headfirst into the ice thing and cutting himself, and then exposing his cut online, and then the stab, the whole thing. Like, I think Sean O'Malley really underestimated him and his style, and hats off to Merab for trying to make the fight, given his style, an exciting and entertaining fight.
Okay, I don't understand though why it was so boring, because people are discounting, for example, the knees to the thighs. Like, why was that boring? He was nailing him with heavy shots. So what? Now if the knees hit the body, all of a sudden it's exciting. I don't get that. He was landing. It wasn't just holding him down. He was constantly striking. Some of the shots didn't seem that strong, like the punches, but those knees were brutal. And I think, you tell me if you agree or disagree, I think those knees took a huge toll on Sean O'Malley. Now, he wasn't barely throwing any kicks. People were saying that he probably wasn't throwing kicks because he was afraid of the takedown. But I also think perhaps that wear and tear on his legs was causing some issues for him. What do you think about those knees to the thighs?
Honestly, with the adrenaline going in that moment that he's in and the atmosphere, like a lot of times you won't feel those until after the fight. I'm not saying it's impossible. He could have been fazed by it, but a lot of times, like when I fought Gabriel Benitez, who's supposed to be, the best kickboxer I've ever fought, and he kicked me in the quad. He landed some good hard leg kicks, and I remember thinking, "Wow, this guy kicks really hard." But I didn't feel it till after the fight. Like I felt the impact, but my legs didn't feel compromised really until after the fight. So it could have been the same situation there. But I think when we talk about exciting guys and exciting fights, it's not that his output was lackluster. It's just that the chance of a finish is. I like to see finishes, whether it's submission, whether it's not, preferably knockouts. And with Merab, although he's doing damage, he's doing consistent damage. Those aren't finishing shots, and he wasn't doing anything to finish O'Malley. I think that's what the people are upset about. I read an interesting statistic this morning. I was trying to do a little research before the show about the fight and about how Dana White feels about Merab being the champion. Now, you have Bilal and Merab, similar style. Did you know out of their 31 MMA fights, or 31 MMA fights combined,
Oh God.
31 wins combined, there's 4 finishes between both fighters. And now we're talking about the UFC champion. So when you talk about finishes, guys want to see finishes. And although these guys are the best in their given weight class, they're just not finishing machines. And that's why the fans and Dana White, kind of see it as lackluster. They are the best in the division, guys. We can't argue that. But unfortunately, kind of a boring style again between Bilal and Merab. And I'm a huge Merab fan. I was before this. I like O'Malley as well. I thought O'Malley was going to be able to pick him off, but I'm still happy for Merab. 4 finishes between 31 between 31 MMA victories. That's not going to help the company.
It's a bummer, and I do get that the knockouts are exciting. I'll tell you my perspective why I like finishes in general is because it does feel a bit unsatisfying when you're taking it to the judge's scorecard, because sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. This is a great example. We had 48-47, which I think most people agree that was a weird scorecard to give O'Malley 2 rounds. So that fact that you just never really know, we see the judges go this way and that way so many times. So it's like, is that a real victory? You know what I mean? It just feels funny. So I totally get that. But man, I mean, that's the game. It's martial arts. Everybody's got their own style. Everybody finds their own way to win. So to me, I don't know. I get that from a general standpoint of, hey, for a lot of casual fans, I suppose, or people that are newer to the sport, they love to see those moments, like right when we see Max Holloway knock out Justin Gaethje or something that just blows your mind. But man, at the end of the day, UFC is all about the best against the best. This is the best against the best. And we saw Merab find a way to win. You just have to respect it. O'Malley's dangerous. Now, before we move on, do you think there was something wrong with O'Malley? I hate to say that because I don't want to take credit away from Merab, but he did. I mean, I don't know. He looked really, really slow to me. And he just didn't look like his normal self. Was that because he was afraid of the takedown and that was Merab that made him look that way? Or do you think there was something wrong with him?
I think there's a mixture between everything, and nothing's came out about an injury or mental toughness, but we've talked about this before on the show, showing up over and over and over and being the best. Like, I think people just don't understand how hard that is. Fuck, he might have ate something after the weigh-ins that didn't agree with his stomach. He might have had poor sleep. Like, there's just a numerous things to show up perfect every time as the UFC champ. That's why it's so impressive when UFC champions have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 title defenses, because they've shown up that many times in a row. And Sean O'Malley is the champion, but unfortunately, he just didn't show up, man. And it could have been anything. It could have been a number of things. It could have been the pressure. It could have been, dude. That's why guys don't give fighters enough credit when they consistently win, when they have these long streaks of winning in the UFC. I just think it's really taken for granted. They think, oh, well, he's the UFC champ. He's the best in the world. Of course he's going to show up perfect every time. Absolutely not. And unfortunately for Sean, whether it was the pressure, whether it was the wrestling, whether it was the game plan, whether it was whatever it was, Sean was just a little flat, man. And once you get grinded on, once your body gets filled with lactic acid from that wrestling grind, I mean, it's really tough to battle out of that sometimes.
Man, yeah, and totally, it is a crazy ask, right? Every time to just show up, quote unquote, perfect and be peak condition. It's just not realistic. And the people that do that, they're just like Jon Jones, who people want to talk smack about, just defying the odds to the highest degree. It's wild. One
more thing really quick, going back to like Anderson Silva, why I think he is the greatest, or definitely one of the greatest, top 3 greatest of all time, is he was on such a long streak of winning, and then he got older in age, and then he fights Chael Sonnen, he loses the first round, he loses the second round, he loses the third round, he loses the fourth round, and then finds a way to win. And I really think that's what real champions do. They find ways to win, even when the odds are against them, even when the score is. Now, guys, you look at Anderson Silva, he lost 1 through 4 and then found a submission in the 5th round, guys. Like, that's what real champions do. Even when they're not at their best, they find ways to win.
Sean, I thought, might have pulled something off in the 5th round. He came back with a vengeance in the 5th round. That would have been insane. If he would have pulled it off, I'm not going to lie, though, as much as I was rooting for Sean, I would have kind of felt bad for Merab because he put on such a dominant performance, and then to get knocked out in the last round would have been a little crazy. But
that's what champions do. That's what champions do. They find those moments to win. They say, oh, fuck, all the odds are against me. I'm a fucking champion. I'm going to find a way to win. Leon Edwards did it. Anderson Silva's done it. George St. Pierre's done it. It's all about finding those ways. And, it's like, And that's the hardest thing when you're losing like this. One time I fought Jacob Rosales, fucking really tough dude. He fought on Dana White's Contender Series, really tough dude. He drops me in the first round, gets on top, ground and pounds. He's beating my ass. I'm not going to say it was a 10-8 round, but definitely a 10-9 round after I got dropped. And Dennis Davis goes, look, you lost that round. You need to finish this motherfucker. And I fucking hit him with an uppercut and end up catching a guillotine. You have to figure out ways to win. You have to find ways to win and or create that opportunity to win. And I don't feel Sean O'Malley. I mean, Sean O'Malley had him hurt with those body kicks, and he just didn't jump on him. He didn't go all out. And I thought that was his opportunity to try and swing the tide there, and he just didn't take advantage of it.
It's such a bummer, but you know what the cool thing is for Sean is now this gives him an opportunity to see if he can climb back up, which I think he can. Some people are saying fraud check, all the stupid stuff that everybody always says whenever anybody loses. It's just ridiculous. But one cool thing I will say, and tell me if you're excited about this, it looks like the fight that a lot of people are saying might be next for Sean O'Malley is Henry Cejudo. And that's kind of a dope, like little grudge match, personal beef thing. And I don't really know how it's going to go. It's kind of a fascinating fight. Maybe Sean O'Malley lost some speed because he was injured or something. He'll bring it back and we'll really get to see an amazing fight and get to see his takedown defense, reinvigorated. And yeah, I think it could be fun. Are you excited for that fight if it happens?
Not really.
Oh,
I'm not really excited about the Cejudo fight because Cejudo, I like Henry a lot. He's a nice guy. I've met him a couple times. I think he's an incredible fighter. He's one of the best to ever do it. But he's not really a championship material, man. We just saw what the champion did to Cejudo. So I felt Merab beat Cejudo worse than he beat O'Malley. The matchup I would be looking forward to is the one and only Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley. I really think that, that decision they went to was kind of ish. Some people thought O'Malley won. Some people thought Peter
right.
Yan won. I think
Yep.
that's the fight to make. Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley too. And if Sean beats him, now he's back into title contention. But it'll also give Peter Yan, who I think is just a fucking stud, a hell of a fighter, another chance to get back in title contention as well.
That could be dope. I've also heard Corey Sandhagen. So it's probably going to be one of those three. Piotr Jan, Corey Sandhagen, and obviously Henry Cejudo might be in the mix. Let's see what happens. All right, we got to move forward, guys, because we actually have a hard stop because of my fault, unfortunately, at 2. And there's a lot we want to talk about. I might skip around a little bit. I want to talk about Shevchenko next because that was a dope. Again, Dana White didn't really like that fight, but I thought it was a dominant victory. And I love to see Shevchenko back in the winner's column and back with the belt, kind of where it belongs, I feel. But we got to talk about Diego Lopes. Holy smokes. What was going on? That was insane. And what was so incredible about Diego Lopes is you saw the speed differential. You saw he kind of had that striking advantage. But it was almost like he was intentionally trying to take the fight to the ground to get a submission. He's a second-degree jiu-jitsu black belt, so he's very skilled on the ground. And it seemed like he was trying to engage where Ortega is strongest. I mean, give me your takeaway as a fighter, because I feel like most people were blown away by Diego Lopes. What did you think?
Man, Diego Lopes is the real deal, man. Like I said, what he did to Gavin Tucker, what he did to Danny Ige, I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to come out on top of this. Brian Ortega bowing out of his last fight against Diego Lopes, and then he shows up. I thought he looked a little soft at the weigh-ins. Where's his head at? What's going on in his personal life? I just don't feel that Brian Ortega is the same guy that we saw that fought Volkanovski, that almost sub Volkanovski. I feel he's lost a step, and maybe he's just getting burned out, man. Fighting at the top of the level for as long as he has is mentally, it's physical, it's all the above. Now you got someone like Diego Lopes that's on his rise up. Like he hasn't been to the top yet. Brian Ortega's already been there. He's already fought for titles. To be able to hold that mental composure at the top is very hard. It's a lot harder than trying to build up. On your rise up is when you have all the motivation because you want to get there. But again, Brian Ortega's already been there. He's already done that. I think Diego Lopes is the real deal, and I think he's going to be in title contention real soon, if not next.
Amazing. Okay, so some people are saying that Diego Lopes would get KO'd by Emmett. And then Anakin says, no, I mean, do you believe that?
Dude, I don't know, man. When you talk about Josh Emmett, this guy has cinder blocks in his hands. He can knock
He does.
anybody out in the featherweight division and the lightweight division at any time. But can he stop the grappling of Diego Lopes? And I think
Exactly.
Diego Lopes is just on another level right now. Josh Emmett's great, and he's very, very heavy-handed, and he can knock anybody out on any day. But if Lopes gets in some grappling exchanges and puts the lactic acid in Emmett's body, he can take away that power and take him into deep water and finish him late.
Diego Lopes almost reminds me a bit of Charles Oliveira. Like, you almost forget he's a grappler because his striking is so crisp, so fast, amazing. But then he's got this second-degree black belt, and jiu-jitsu pedigree, which is just amazing. So I don't know. He's just such a complete fighter. I don't see. I mean, maybe, you never know. It's MMA. Josh Emmett could win, but Dana White said after he got that victory, he goes, "You're ranked number 3 now," which is crazy. I don't really hear Dana White say that too much. And apparently, Diego Lopes after the fight was yelling at Dana White, "I want a title shot. Give me my title shot." Dana White was like, "Look, I love Diego Lopes. We'll do anything for him, even though he yelled at me, but that's okay." So he is definitely in the good graces of the UFC. So very, very cool fight. Such a. I mean, look, we all love Brian Ortega. It was a little bit of a bummer to see him lose, but in a fight like this, tell me if you ever feel like this, Justin. Sometimes I go into a fight rooting for a fighter, but then I'm like, holy smokes, the other one is putting on such an incredible performance, or they're doing so well. You kind of shift over and they're like, all right, now I kind of want this guy to win. Does that happen to you?
Oh yeah, all the time, man. It's just it reminds me of the old Rocky film when he's fighting the Russian. You know, Rocky goes in there and everyone hates him. And by the end of the fight, everyone's rooting for him just
Right.
because people watch somebody with that kind of heart and that kind of tenacity take it to someone like Brian Ortega. How can you not love that? How can you not get behind this guy? This guy's on his rise to fame. He has all the momentum going, and to go in there and do what he did to Brian Ortega and how he did it is just incredible. I don't know how you couldn't root for him after that.
Oh my God. Somebody in the comments just said Ortega versus Patty next. Yo, that's genius. Because Ortega wants to move up to lightweight. Never thought of that. Holy smokes. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Do any of you guys else agree that could be a dope fight? I think that'd be really cool. 2 huge stars, and that would be a big bump up for Patty. And if he can get the victory, man, that would jump him up in the rankings. Okay, that gets me excited. Let's see what happens. All right, we got 2 quick things that we got to still get to. Number 1, Jon Jones versus Stipe has finally been announced, and it's on the November card at MSG. We're also going to talk about Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. That's going to be, I think, the co-main on that same card. But first of all, I don't know if you saw the promo, but the promo I thought was sick. And I think it reminds people forget, or people don't know because they're too new to the sport. It reminds people of all the fighters that Jon Jones has ran through over the years. I mean, he's had this sustained championship run. He's basically defended the belt so many times, all the people he's beat, all these different generations of fighters. And then it gave this amazing preview of Stipe and all the people that he's beat as the most decorated heavyweight of all time. It got me very excited. Did you see the trailer, and did it hype you up?
I didn't see the trailer, but it's not going to get me excited, man. I'm very happy for Jon Jones. He's getting his retirement fight. He's already talking that this will probably be his last fight. But we've been talking about this matchup for so long. There's nothing. I mean, even though it's official now in November, it's hard to get excited about something because we've been talking about it for a year now. We've been talking about Jon Jones's matchups for a year. So when this stuff comes out, I've already thought about it. I've already gotten my excitement out. I mean, like I said, I'm happy for Jon. He's a legend of the sport. I've been watching him since I was in college, since I was an amateur fighter. So imagine, like, throughout my whole amateur career, this guy has been in the UFC and the UFC champ, which is just mind-boggling. Stipe, on the other hand, like, he had 2 title defenses, which makes him the greatest heavyweight of all time. I think that's whatever. The fight is what it is. It's a nostalgic fight, but that's all it is to me. It's just a nostalgic fight.
I guess from my perspective, and I get that. I guess from my perspective, when I finally saw the promo, like, we've been talking about Jon Jones so much, but like, there hasn't been much word officially from the UFC. And then you finally see this amazing promo, and you see a date, and there you see the photo of Jon Jones and Stipe. I got me really hyped up. It made me think, like, I want to be there if I could be there. But I guess I don't. We'll see what people
Where's it
say.
gonna be? Where's it gonna be?
MSG.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to go, but like, it got me really amped up for it, and I'm excited. I cannot wait. I think that's going to be a great time too in November for that card. All right, moving on to the co-main of that card, Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. Before we wrap up the show, and I guess he's not waiting for Conor anymore. He said in the interview he actually knew about this fight 4 weeks before they made the announcement, and he just said the timeline that they're giving him to fight Conor is going to be some point in the new year, January, February, whatever. And he just felt like it was too long. So his plan is what he said is he's betting on himself to take this Charles Oliveira fight him, and then hopefully fight Conor next. If the Conor fight's not there, then he'll move on and fight Islam. But he's saying he still wants to fight Conor. So Justin, I got 2 questions for you. Number 1, what do you think of this matchup for the rematch? And number 2, do you think he's still going to fight Conor?
So number one about the rematch. Michael Chandler's been training for Conor McGregor. You know, he hasn't suffered any injuries. I really feel since Charles has lost the belt, he's kind of lost a little bit. You know, I really haven't seen the Charles Oliveira. I haven't seen the champion Charles Oliveira since he's lost the belt. You know, I didn't think he looked very good against Islam. I mean, being submitted at his strength, you know, with the side choke, you know, it's tough. Now Michael Chandler's motivated because if Michael Chandler loses to Charles Oliveira, there is no Chandler McGregor fight. I think this is a very, very dangerous fight for Chandler. For one, not only just because of the grappling, but Charles Oliveira can bang. Charles has to show up because Michael Chandler's bringing the house. Michael Chandler is going to show up. He is going to be ready. He's going to be motivated. He's had a lot of time off, so he's had a lot of recovery. Does Charles Oliveira show up?
Very interesting. Yeah. And I think Michael Chandler likes his odds. He feels like he's gotten so much better and he's been doing all this preparation, mental work, all this stuff. So he thinks he's going to be able to fix the mistakes that he made in the first fight. He thinks he's going to come out victorious. I can't wait to hear Charles' take on it. Obviously, Charles, I think he just beat Beneil Dariush. Was that his last fight?
I can't even. I don't even know.
Okay, let me just double check real quick.
Like
but I do think I do think it's a very exciting fight. Now let's come out the other end. Let's say that Michael Chandler is able to pull off the victory, get this one back. If he gets the victory back, do you still think it feels likely that they're still going to book him against McGregor, or do you think that there might change it up, maybe book McGregor against Holloway or against Justin Gaethje or somebody else?
Man, I'd love to see the McGregor fight. I want McGregor to come back. I really, I mean, all this talk he's been doing. All right, show ups. It's time to shut up, or it's time to put up or shut up. You know, and if Chandler gets this, he's more than deserving for that match. But if I was him, I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait around for it. Maybe wait 6 months, and at the end of 6 months, start looking for somebody else. Maybe Islam. Maybe Dana White's going to give him a break since he's waited for so long and he beats Charles Oliveira, former champ. Maybe he throws him right into title contention right away.
Yeah, and by the way, I did. Anakin mentioned, I totally forgot. After he beat Beneil, he did lose to Arman Sarukian. Arman's such a tough fight, though. I mean, he's going up for the belt next, so I don't know if that says too many negative things about Charles Oliveira. But and a lot of people are not a lot, but some people are picking Arman to actually beat Islam or at least give him a good fight. So that was a tough fight. He did lose. I don't know. Let's see if he's lost a step. I guess we'll find out in November. But anyways, a lot of things have gone on. Last thing, maybe let's quickly touch on Shevchenko, and then I got to jump off. People are saying the fight was boring, this and that. What did you think of the fight? Shevchenko
it was unexpected for sure. I mean, Shevchenko came there and put together incredible wrestling, incredible grappling. You know, she's known for her striking. She's a world-class kickboxer, and I didn't know she had that kind of wrestling, man. Hats off to her, really throwing a curveball in there, getting on top of Grasso and just destroying her own game. Was the fight a little lackluster? You know, anytime I see Valentina get in there, I'm expecting her to be throwing head kicks. You know, if you guys remember when she fought my teammate Jessica I with that brutal head kick knockout. When I see Valentina step in there, that's the kind of fight I'm looking to see. The fight was very unexpected. I did not expect her to take Grasso down. But with that being said, it just shows how much improvement she had in her wrestling, in her grappling, to go in there and do what she did against Grasso. Yeah, and like our headline says, she dominated that fight. And you know, this girl's not just a one-dimensional kickboxer. She can wrestle, she can grapple. Although the fight wasn't very exciting, it just shows her improvement in her other aspects of the game. I was very impressed.
It was pure domination. And I mean, I actually didn't find it boring because Grasso kept trying to throw up submissions. They were saying that she trains with Diego Lopes, who again is a second-degree jiu-jitsu black belt. So she was trying a lot on the bottom, and I think she had her in a triangle choke at one point. She had her in a lot of compromising positions, and the commentators were even saying, all right, this is a dangerous spot for Shevchenko, but I think she had her at one point in a guillotine too. Shevchenko herself said the guillotine wasn't very tight, but Grasso was trying to finish from the bottom. So I thought it was interesting. It was a chess match, in my opinion. And yeah, Shevchenko came up with a great game plan. That's what the sport is about. All in all, I loved it. I watched the first 3 fights on the plane, by the way, and then I saved the last 2 for when I got home. So I got to watch on a proper TV, but super dope. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments what you think about UFC Noche. Also, let us know what you think about. I want to know what people think about Jon Jones versus Stipe. Is it the overwhelming majority that is just not interested in this fight anymore? Because I feel like I'm in the minority, but I cannot wait for that fight. I don't know why, but I'm just very, very excited. So anyways, all right, guys. That is it for today. I got to run. Thank you so much for joining. And make sure to check us out on Friday. We'll be doing a show from Montana on Friday. And of course, we'll be back commentating for Fusion Fight League on Saturday. Thank you guys so much for joining. And we will see you in the next episode. Take it easy.